that was a reason. Now,
good morning.
some people held on because they said, no, I want this as my insurance policy. Insurance policy, you don't necessarily
Hey, Sarah.
buy and sell your life
Hey, Sandra.
policies. You have it for a particular reason. And some of your money should always...
I gotta reboot the computer that we play the commercials on, but I'm trying to get on the air first.
Historically, we've always used 5%. At this particular
I'll reboot
time,
it during the first segment.
Percentage of our assets being gold, silver, and platinum. So the reason for buying it will determine when to sell it. If that reason changes, or when it's fulfilled, it's time to sell it. But it must go along with the fact that you understand that gold is the only real money in the world. It is
Hey, guys.
the only thing that has no IOUs or attached to it. It is an insurance policy, and it is a hedge against inflation.
Hey, Linda.
It's the only real money that will maintain its buying power for you in the long term.
Okay, well, that answers that question. If the question becomes where, well, I can tell you where. William Youngerman Inc., located at 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca. You can drop by to the Bank of America building right on the first floor.
My sinuses. I woke up with a cat
You can call William
sleeping on me.
800-327-5010 or go to the website at williamyoungerman.com. This is Steve Kane. We are here this morning.
Oh boy! All right, welcome to the program, everyone. I know, a little rough opening there. I got to reboot our computer that I play the commercials on. Welcome to the show. It is already Thursday morning, if you can believe it. My name is Brian Craig. You are listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, the Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. It is August. Oh my goodness, the 6th of August already. The first week of August, pretty much flown by. I want to welcome everyone to the show. If you are new here, welcome. If you are new to this program, you're going to love this show because this is the greatest show in all of talk radio. The Steve Kane Show, the longest running show on the radio in the state of Florida. On the radio since 1977. We are live weekday mornings from 6 until 9 a.m. with overnight rebroadcast midnight until 6 a.m. 7 nights a week. Not only is this the longest running radio show in Florida, this is the most pro-Donald Trump radio show anywhere in the world. I promise you that. You will never hear me disagree with President Trump. And I say that with pride, I really do. It's no doubt about that. I will never disagree with President Trump. Not that he's done anything I would disagree with. It's not like he's done some things. I disagree and I'm keeping it a secret. I love the guy. And I've seen him do nothing wrong. And sometimes I'll say, well, I would do that different. And then in the end, who's right? The boss, President Trump. So we've got a lot to talk about, a lot going on. There's an article in Politico that came out a couple days ago that when you read, I'm going to go through this article with you, and it would seem to me, based on this article in Politico, that the Democrat Party has accepted the fact that President Trump will be reelected. His support is so massive that they cannot do anything to stop his reelection, and they're not campaigning. And you look at what's going on. Not only are they not campaigning, their candidate, Joe Biden, has given up. When Joe Biden announced yesterday that he would not be going to the convention to accept the nomination, this is unheard of. And it's not because of social distancing and all this stuff. That's something they could easily handle, right? They do things all the time, all over the place. There's, he does travel here and there from time to time. They're not going to have very many people there. He could go to the convention and accept or do some symbolic thing at the convention. He's not going to leave the basement. And I'll tell you, this catchphrase, Biden in the basement, everyone's saying that. I remember Terry McAuliffe had a Zoom meeting with governors a while back, and he even said they don't want Vice President Biden, former Vice President Biden, to leave the basement. So I think the only conclusion we can come to is that the Democrats are not running, they're not campaigning. They know Trump is going to win. They know Trump is going to win big. The polls are phony. Everyone knows this. some of those polls that have Biden ahead, but they had Hillary ahead at this point in last election. You know, and they're just giving. Now, why they've given up, I don't know. Is the the Democrat Party is not the Democrat Party of 4 years ago. You know, they've always catered to radicals. I mean, that's the Democrat way. But what they're doing now is a little different. The radicals that they cater to, the extremists they cater to, are now getting elected. Right? The Squad and others. And there's more up-and-comers that have won some primaries this season in the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party has lost it. You know, there was a fight at the beginning between AOC, the Squad, and Pelosi. Pelosi seemed to has given up on that. So, you know, the Republican establishment, we've talked about this a lot. The first time we really saw this was back in 2010 with the Republicans, okay? In 2010, the Republicans were willing, the establishment Republicans, during the rise of the Tea Party revolution, were pretty much openly discussing it was okay to lose the election, to clean house from all of these Tea Party people that we don't want. And we talk sometimes about how the Republican establishment would be fine with President Trump losing, because he'll lose, the Republicans lose, and the establishment, well, they're back in control of the party. Well, yeah. And the Democrats, they have an establishment too, and they have an entire culture and class of people that are multi-generational, that have been Democrats, and they very well may want to lose. The Democrats may want to lose, okay? And they may want to lose, the Democrats, for the same reason the Republican establishment. People like George Bush, President Bush, voted for Hillary. He's not going to vote for Trump this time, right? Because if Trump loses, the Republicans lose, but the establishment get back control of the party. They would rather control the loss than lose control of the victory. The Democrat establishment is in a very similar situation, and they're far worse off because they have extreme radicals that are attacking churches, communities, people, cities, police stations. They're doing all kinds of craziness around the country. You're all well aware of this. Right? The Democrat Party, I believe at this point, want to lose the election. They want to take back control of the party, and to do that, they've got to cleanse themselves. And there's a popular opponent. You know, so when Biden came out and said he would not be attending the convention to accept the nomination, he's going to do it from his basement. My goodness. My goodness. This is unheard of, people. This is unheard of, people. And there's an amazing article that I'm going to go through in Politico that you may have seen. You know, I go to liberal sources. A lot of people wonder why. Because, you know, a lot of times Politico's left wing. You go to liberal sources, you watch some liberal news, you get an inside look at what's going on. And I tell you, the mainstream, even many liberals in this country, are pretty fed up with the Democrats. Very fed up with the media. This is a name that some of you will know, most of you will not. A singer that I'm a fan of, that I've seen in concert multiple times, and even was lucky enough to meet on one occasion when I, without permission, went backstage. Any of you guys familiar with Tori Amos, the singer-songwriter? Tori Amos. I'm not going to bore you with the history of Tori Amos, but she's a singer. And, you know, she's a pretty popular cult following back in the 90s. She's still around. And she has a book out. And I may read her book. I started to read it last night. I got the free sample on Apple Books. And I was reading the beginning. Trump is very popular. The country is not divided against Trump. The country's united behind Trump, and the media, and the vocal mob on social media are giving an impression of something that's just not the case. Okay? The country's not divided. The country's united. The media are out of touch. The media have lost touch with the pulse of the American people. And they have a bunch of thugs on social media that give you a false impression of what's going on out there. So, now we don't want to get overconfident. Just because the Democrats don't plan on winning doesn't mean we want to get overconfident about that, because we don't want to depress our turnout. Okay? This is very important. We don't want to depress our turnout. That's something people worry about all the time. A lot of these things, they don't like people like me talking this way, because we've got to keep everybody all excited all the time and everything, or they may not turn out and vote. Well, I don't think that's the case. I think, people, this is the last opportunity you will have to vote for President Trump. So people are going to do it. After the first break, I'm going to go through this article on Politico about the two campaigns, the Republican campaign and the Democrat campaign during this election cycle. It's going to blow your mind. And when I give you the headline, you can Google the headline and find the article yourself and tweet it. I did tweet this article right before the show. And I think I was in line at Starbucks, actually, when I tweeted that. And you can retweet it if you would like. Our number, I'd like to hear your thoughts on all of this as well. Our number is toll-free, 888-GO-KANE-1. 888-GO-KANE-1. That's Kane with a K, K-A-N-E, and the number 1. 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. If you don't, watch us on YouTube. We live stream the show on YouTube. There's a very active chat room that you can participate in if you would like on YouTube. Just search Brian Craig on YouTube, completely free to subscribe, and I upload videos there all the time, including my podcast, which you all should be listening to. I had a very, very good podcast last night. Oh, man. Did I have a great podcast last night? And it's on most podcast platforms as well. My podcast, I was on, last night's episode was 980-something. I've lost track. I keep track. I've lost track in my mind, but I have over 980 podcast episodes on most podcast platforms. I'm on dozens and dozens of podcast platforms, and I also upload my podcast to my YouTube channel, Brian Craig. All right, let's take our first break of this Thursday morning. When we get back, I'll jump into this Politico article. My name's Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show. We'll be back. Don't you go anywhere.
It's hurricane season again. This year, forecasters predict as many as 10 hurricanes. Are you prepared?
See, during all of that, while I was just talking to you guys, I rebooted the computer, reset all the commercials. I was doing all kinds of stuff down here beneath with my hands that you couldn't see.
Generators for all size homes.
I got in right before airtime today because, a couple reasons. Two things happened. I got my show prep done, and there's a new, there's a new Star Trek series on CBS All Access, a cartoon, 25-minute long episode. So I'm like, I want to watch that. I didn't want to wait till after I got home. So I watched that episode. I got plenty of time. I go to Starbucks. I wait in line at Starbucks. I get in, it's 5:35, and they don't have any espresso to put in my coffee. Can you freaking believe it? So, so I had to go to another Starbucks, to get my coffee, and I didn't have time to do my normal setup in the studio, so I had to kind of wing it there. But that's okay. We're set now.
And the answer to the question, when do you sell, is really goes back to why did you buy it in the first place? When the reason you bought it is fulfilled.
Why yell, Nick? What's wrong?
Or when the reason that you bought it no longer exists, it's time to sell. In 1980,
why yell?
I have $850.
What did I miss? What you said before? Let me scroll back. The shortage of espresso. What did Nick say before I missed?
Changed dramatically because we had 25%.
I don't see what you said
The
before.
government said we will stop inflation no matter what.
I know.
We did so with
I know. They told me.
that reason for
They said we're not going to charge you for your coffee today. I get a large hot blonde, or they call it a venti. I get a large hot blonde Americano with half and half.
Said, no, I want this as my insurance.
And
Insurance
they don't have any
policy
espresso
necessarily buy
to put in it,
life
which is the whole
insurance
purpose of getting it.
policy. You have it for a particular reason. And
It
some
should
of
be
the
now. I'm not using Wi-Fi right now. I disconnected from my Wi-Fi. Let me make sure.
Historically, we've
Hold on,
always said
guys.
time we recommend
Yeah, I'm not using Wi-Fi right now.
our assets being gold, silver, and platinum.
I just disconnected from the
So
Wi-Fi.
The reason for buying it will determine when to sell it. If that reason changes or is fulfilled, that's the time.
Everything
to
should
sell
be
it.
okay now.
It must go along.
Oh, yeah.
You understand that gold is the only real money in the world. It is the only thing that has no IOUs or
Oh, you're having
attached
problems
to
with
it.
Apple
It
TV?
was an insurance
Is it
policy,
updated?
And it is
With the latest
against
update?
inflation, and it's the only real money that will maintain its buying power for you in the long term.
Okay, well, that answers that question. If the question becomes where, well, I can tell you where. William Youngerman Inc., located at 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca. You can drop by to the Bank of America building right on the first floor opposite the Bank of America. You can call William at 1-800-327-5010 or go to the website at williamyoungerman.com.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Search for W.
Yes. Welcome back. 20 minutes after 6. I'm Brian Craig. This is Florida's longest running radio show, the Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. You know, a lot of people say, why do you have to say all the time that this is the longest running radio show on the radio since 1977? Because it is a badge of honor, and it's a great accomplishment, and I like bragging about it. Sorry, guys. All right, so if you're just joining in, I'm going to go through this article in Politico. The Democrats, I saw this article, and the only conclusion I could come to, the Democrats are not running. The Democrat Party has accepted the fact that not only is Trump going to win, he's going to win in a massive landslide. The only question is, how's the House race going to turn out? This is Politico, and you guys, I'm going to read the headline. Google this headline. You'll find the article yourself. Democrats may not want to read this article. It's so depressing. Here's the headline. Trump's campaign knocks on 1 million doors a week. 1 million doors a week. Biden's campaign knocks on 0 doors. 0, and Trump's campaign's knocking on 1 million a week. The diverging responses to COVID-19 could be a wild card in November. When it comes to coronavirus, when it comes to COVID, there are, except people, and for what I'm not talking about people in high-risk groups. Like my wife has a serious health illness. She has a heart and lung illness, pulmonary hypertension. She's very high risk. My wife has not gone anywhere since maybe February, March. And some people are older, okay? So I'm not talking about people that have pre-existing conditions or the old. I'm talking about people that are working age people, young people. There's a big divide, I find, and it's straight down political lines, on who goes out with precautions, wears a mask and washes their hands and lives life, and those who stay home like Biden in a bunker. And it's a political divide. Trump people are out living life, trying to get the economy going, and Democrats are hiding like Biden in their houses in fear. And that fear is going to translate into voting. Anyway, back to Politico. Donald Trump's campaign says it has knocked on over 1 million doors in the past week alone. Joe Biden's campaign says it has knocked on 0. The Republican and Democratic parties, from the presidential candidates on down, are taking polar opposite approaches to door-to-door canvassing this fall. The competing bets on the value of face-to-face campaigning during a pandemic has no modern precedent, making it a potential wild card in November, especially in close races. You know, a lot of Democrats are going to be afraid to vote. They're going to be afraid to leave their house to go and vote. Biden and the Democratic National Committee aren't sending volunteers or staffers to talk with voters at home, and don't anticipate doing anything more than dropping off literature unless the crisis abates. You know, they're going to tell us, I'm sure, in this article. I haven't read much further than this in the article. I like to read these articles cold on the air, you know, so I can experience it with you. I don't plan what I'm going to talk about or say hardly at all. In fact, I was going to talk about something else entirely until about 15 minutes before showtime. This is great stuff. This is great stuff. What they're going to tell you, I am sure, is they're not campaigning face-to-face because of coronavirus. People don't want to interact. Are you kidding me? DoorDash is blowing up. How many people out there are having DoorDash deliver meals? How many of you are using Instacart? We use both, DoorDash and Instacart. Even if you don't use those, how many of you are getting Amazon packages every day? So this idea that people don't want people to come to their door, they're inviting people to come to their door multiple times a day in this country during this crisis. The campaign, and when they say the campaign in this instance, they're talking about the Biden campaign. The campaign and the Democratic National Committee think they can compensate for the lack of in-person canvassing with phone calls. Oh yeah. How many of you answer your phone when you don't know who is calling? How many of you hit decline? That's everybody. Text messages, oh, that's annoying. And new forms of digital organizing and virtual meetups with voters. Well, we've seen these virtual meetups with Biden. They're a disaster. We'll get to him asking the black guy if he's a junkie yesterday. Don't worry. At first, I was nervous, but our response rates on phone calls and text are much higher, and people are not necessarily wanting someone to go up to their door right now, says Jen Ryder, Biden's National States Director. You get to throw a lot of the rule book out the window and try out new things. They don't want people coming to the door unless it's DoorDash, Amazon, Instacart, every day. So that's nonsense. That's just them. They have a candidate who can't campaign. Republicans say their door-knocking dominance could make a difference in November, since in-person conversations have long been considered the most effective type of voter contact. And that goes for business as well. Steve and I still do our meetings with people in person. Steve and I have meetings almost every day. I had one yesterday. Steve had one yesterday in person. We've got meetings throughout this week. We have meetings next week. We meet people in person. That's how you do business. We wear a mask, but we meet with people in person. Doing it on the phone or text message, that just doesn't get it. You need to have a conversation. From now to Election Day, voters may only... If this were Barack Obama running, Democrats would want to be out there knocking on doors. They don't have enthusiasm or a strong field operation, so it is a convenient excuse. We can do this safely for President Trump and Republicans up and down the ballot. Both campaigns are funneling millions of dollars into their field programs. Trump victory has over 1,500 full-time staffers across 23 states, and it's required staffers to read Groundbreakers, How Obama's 2.2 million volunteers transformed campaigning in America, which is a close look at Obama's 2008 and 2012 ground games. The RNC says they'll add an additional 1,000 people by the end of September to focus on doors and get out the vote. This is amazing. This is amazing. So the Trump campaign is requiring campaign workers to read a book on how Obama won in 2008 and 2012. That is astounding, and the campaign admits this. Biden's organization program was slow to ramp up after the primary. Senior leadership for critical states like Florida and Pennsylvania were announced only in July, and the campaign set a goal of just 600 hires by the end of June. The Biden campaign told Politico it'll have over 2,000 battleground staffers by the end of August through a coordinated committee with the DNC, and those will just be people doing Zoom things. Political scientists disagree on the extent to which organizing programs matter, but it's broadly acknowledged that they can sway a close race and that they're particularly effective in turning out base voters. Operatives say such organizing could be even more important than usual this fall because of the surge in mail-in ballots. Reminding voters to fill out their ballot and then collecting them, or ballot catching, as some field organizers call it, is one of the most critical programs on any campaign. Biden campaign staffers said they likely would not do in-person ballot collection, but expressed optimism that they could deploy an effective program regardless through phone that nobody will answer, everybody will hit decline, and text that everybody will swipe left and delete because they're annoyed that they're getting text messages that are advertisements pointing to their successful efforts in Wisconsin this spring in the state Supreme Court race. The decisions to forego door knocking is part of a larger gamble that voters will give Biden credit for taking the coronavirus more seriously than Trump. The strategy has extended to Biden's own activities. He's been mocked by Trump for campaigning from his basement, though Biden has ventured out to more public events lately. The campaign's Philadelphia headquarters is mostly empty, and many new hires are working remotely. Trump and his campaign have been far less restrained, betting that voters won't be turned off by campaign workers ringing their doorbells. I mean, think about it, you Republicans out there. If somebody from the Trump campaign knocks at your door, they're wearing a hat or a shirt from the Trump campaign, you're going to talk to them. You don't care. And, people that are Trump voters, they're not terrified of interaction, because if they're a Trump voter, unless they have a pre-existing condition or they're elderly, they're out there every day going to work. Okay, and they understand the importance of the economy and getting the economy going, and there's interactions going on with masks and precautions. Based on what I'm reading in Politico, the Democrats have given up. This is a symbolic run. We often talk about sacrifice candidates. Sacrifice candidates are candidates that run in elections against very popular presidents. There's no chance of winning, or popular candidates, and the party puts up someone who has been in the party for a long time. They've never gotten the nomination, and they feel they would like them to be able to retire with the nomination. We had Bob Dole in '96 against Bill Clinton. We had McCain against Obama in '08, and now, and they had Mondale against Reagan in '84. You know what I'm talking about, and now they have Biden against Trump in 2020, and I'm sure you could go through a lot of elections, and you'll find a long history from the early days of American elections of sacrifice candidates. This is great news. This is great news. That's how popular President Trump is. And the media, well, we'll talk about the media when we get back. And also, I found out something about the school system yesterday, not reopening, I want to point out to you. All right, it's 31 minutes after the hour. I'm Brian Craig. You are listening to The Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show on the radio since 1977. We will break and be back. Don't go anywhere.
Think you've come in contact with someone who has coronavirus? Steve Kane's wife Lori did, and she went to Any Lab Test Now of Coral Springs to find out if she has coronavirus.
So I came into contact with somebody who tested positive for COVID, and I was scared. And
Candlefoot Plaza, where the Western Beef is, south of Palmetto Park Road and north of Hillsboro. Call them at 561-237-5009. 561-237-5009. Make sure
Kane Show is brought to you by Attorney Barry Siegel at the Siegel Law Group. Are you concerned with the distribution of your assets at the time of your passing? Avoid probate. Call the Siegel Law Group with 9 offices throughout South Florida, from Palm Beach Gardens to Coral Gables. Call toll-free 1-855-FLA-3782.
Listen to The Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Just search for WWE.
Welcome back, one and all. I'm Brian Craig. This is The Steve Kane Show. Yeah, so we're talking, the Democrats are planning on losing, and Fauci said something that makes me think that even Fauci, the great oracle of all knowledge according to the mainstream media, but Fauci said something that leads me to say that even Fauci believes that Trump is going to win. Fauci wants more than anything to be important, to be a player, to be an influencer, to keep his job. Fauci said that the country can survive COVID-19 without, this is Fauci, without another lockdown and shutdown. And the left and the media have been pushing for another shutdown, right? I know, that's absolutely correct. So if Fauci is distancing himself from the left-wing media, and, of course, from the Democrat Party so far as a shutdown, that means Fauci thinks Trump's going to win too. Because Fauci wants to have that Oval Office access. Right? Yeah. So there's all kinds of tells. This is great news. Now don't get make sure you vote. I know you're all going to vote. This is, one thing they don't get about Trump. This is one thing they don't get about Trump, is how much those of us who support him love him. And he's like, So there's nothing that's going to stop us from going out and voting. Our candidate doesn't even need to campaign, and he's campaigning. The rallies are great, and we miss the rallies, and I'd like to watch them on TV every night. But he doesn't need the rallies to win this. And this is amazing. And every scheme they've pulled against President Trump, everything's a scheme, even the school lockdown. Now, yesterday afternoon, I went over to the Boca Town Center Mall with my daughter. My daughter needs a new pair of eyeglasses. We went to the eyeglass store and found out that you have to have an appointment now. You just can't walk in and buy eyeglasses. Idiots, so I got to take her back Friday. But this was about between 3 and 3:30 yesterday. And I've been to the mall many times since it reopened. I even went, the first day the mall reopened, I went there. You may have seen, I made a YouTube video about it, and it was a ghost town. In fact, the mall was a ghost town last time I was there, which was just a couple weeks ago. And when I went to the mall yesterday, it was the busiest I've seen the mall in a long time. It was almost like a weekend. Because for many, every day's a weekend now. And when I say for many, I'm talking about kids. The mall was filled with kids. It was filled with kids. These are the kids that are... And by the way, not only was it filled with kids, they were traveling in groups. Some of them larger than 6. You know how it is with girls. They travel in packs. So you had the packs of girls at the mall. Had the packs of friends at the mall. All kids, high school kids and middle school kids. These are the ones that are telling us can't be in school. So, what's this thing with the schools being closed down? If they're all hanging out at the mall in groups, some of these groups were as large as a classroom would be in this current state of affairs. Why can they not be in school? And the reason that many Democrats are pushing to keep the schools closed is because the reopening of the schools is normality. And they don't want normality. And a lot of these left-wing communities, like the one we live in right here and right now in South Florida, because it's a Democrat town. But the mall was filled with kids. And all I could think of was, well, they should be in school. Hanging out in the mall, close together. No, they weren't social distancing. They were hanging out together. No social distancing going on. So why aren't they in school? Well, we know why they're not in school. They should be in school. Anyway, all right, listen. Our number is toll free from anywhere. 1-888-GO-KANE-1. 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. It is a toll free call. Let's go to the phones. You're on the radio. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, bro.
Hey, Nick in Baltimore. How's it going?
Oh, it's going okay. We're getting a bit of a storm up here in the southeast.
Oh, really? Yeah, a rainstorm, I'm assuming.
We could at any second.
The feed's fine. I'm watching it.
Disappear, you'll know.
Usually when you lose power, though, the phones still work. Typically, if you got a landline.
Yeah, we've got like 2 hours worth of phone. The way this system is.
Yeah.
When the power drops. What I wanted to tell, I'm not hijacking the show, but what I wanted to tell you is this. I am more confident now, and this will make everybody feel better too, that looking at President Trump, he knows what Barr and Durham have. And I'm more confident now that things are going to happen.
Well, yesterday I was watching Sally Yates. I'm going to play the clip later when she was when she said that Comey went rogue. It sounds like they're throwing Comey under the bus, doesn't it?
Yeah. But I was thinking of that. I didn't play that testimony back yet, so it'll be great to hear it on the program. But she's trying to get out of things, and don't feel sorry for her. I mean, I know you don't, and I know everybody here gets it, but she's making what $700,000 or a couple $1 million. She works for a big law firm in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Go to prison too.
Yeah.
She disobeyed a presidential order, several of them.
Yeah, and I don't like this idea of people doing these things remotely. And that especially goes for members of Congress. There was no reason for every senator not to be there, and you can tell the Democrats from the Republicans. Even if you woke up from a coma, the Democrats are either the ones remotely on Zoom, or they're wearing a mask, even though they're 15 feet from the nearest person.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But I'm telling you right now, things are going to happen. What I don't like, and don't be fooled by this, is these people trying to get out of this. Sally Yates playing a little innocent act. Well, if I knew what I knew, and then I...
She knew everything. She knew everything.
Yeah. He's a big wig in the Obama administration. I'm going to tell you this. Obama's not going to be untouched. He's not going to prison. Forget it. He's not going to prison. But he's going to be devalued. And everybody's going to walk away from him, including the people who adored Obama and adore him currently. He's going to be such a big disappointment, they're going to walk away from him. And that speech he did at the John Lewis funeral was ridiculous.
Well, with Comey, they're throwing Comey under the bus. Okay, so it looks like, and I believe they know a little bit of what's going to come out with Durham, because all these people have given depositions and they talk. So they, based on is not a sane person. When I see Comey at these other hearings, he does not look sane. I see it in his eyes. He doesn't think he did anything wrong. He's criminally insane, and he will challenge this through a very long trial and put up a very stern defense if he gets an indictment. And it's going to get worse and worse and worse, because he's not going to play ball.
It's going to be broadcast. When I say broadcast, the networks aren't going to be able to ignore it. Everybody who currently has power and has been exercising power in spreading lies and propaganda, and it includes MSNBC, especially CNN, which is disgraceful. Let me tell you one more thing. And everybody knows, I always say I was in the media and all,
mm-hmm.
but there was a time when you could not broadcast untrue information. You'd lose your license. When I was in radio, you had to take a test to get what was called a third phone, radio and telephone license, so you could operate the equipment. You had to figure out,
Yeah, I know. I used to have one. I wish I still had my license. I had one of those licenses, and I wish I still had it. I wish I didn't think too much of it. It's like an old driver's license, I figured, and now they let anybody do anything these days.
I have mine here. My sister has it put away somewhere.
Oh, you're a lucky guy.
It's now you just send away. They give you a little card, but anybody can get a license. But the thing is, you'd be fined if you broadcast untrue information.
Well, I was, our engineer here at the radio station. He's an old time '70s radio guy. He does our legal ID. This here. You can hear the voice, right? He's one of those old radio guys. And I was, yeah, I know. My daughter met him when we were moving to the new studio, and she's like, "Wow, that guy's got a great radio." And I was talking to him one day, and he was talking about how broadcasting used to be an art form, and I still believe it is, in particular talk radio. But he says now everybody, everybody's doing a show in their basement. You know what I mean? Like Biden. And yeah, you understand what I'm saying? So I was talking to Steve about this yesterday. When you look at the media, I think the media has always been liberal, since the days of television, with Cronkite. But you have a different quality of person now. There's so much media, third-rate talent that would never get on the air before are anchoring primetime shows, because it's like in football, most teams have one or two great players and everybody else is mediocre. That's how it is in media. And when we only had the three networks, the top talent you saw. Now you see no talent, third-rate talent, minor leaguers with primetime shows 5 days a week. Joy Reid, Fredo, people like that.
But they're not broadcast professionals. You're right. And the thing about the kind of radio you and Steve do, you go back to a class of talk radio. I'm not saying this to, just say it. Because when I was 11 years old, just, dreaming about getting into radio, I used to listen to the top 40 stations, and I was listening to the talk stations. We had a slew of them up here. And I've been in the region, and I was able to hear different stations. The thing is that there was a time when talk radio was it was probably liberal. It was liberal, but it was still more conservative. It was more balanced, but it's still balanced.
Well, and there's no class in media today. People are without class.
Guys have that old-fashioned. I mean, I'm not gonna say old line. It's issue, hard-driven, action kind of talk, which
That's
is,
right.
really good talk radio, and that's what attracted me to the show. When I first heard you guys way back in, 2011 or 2010, when I was first getting these little internet.
Wow, I didn't know you were with us that long, Nick. Wow, time flies.
And when I first heard it was on Sunday night.
And find incredible deals on both new and used tires. Give Friendly Mike a call right now. 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445. And Mike will give you a quote right over the phone. 954-977-9445 for Friendly Tire in Margate.
This is Steve Kane, and I wanted to share with you some thoughts about why I chose the Gardens of Boca Raton to be my final resting place. I have always been uncomfortable with thoughts of death and dying, but the very first time that I visited the Gardens of Boca Raton, I could feel my apprehensions vanish. Just knowing that I'd be spending eternity with my family in such magnificent surroundings lifted my spirits. The Gardens of Boca Raton is an all-faith, above-ground cemetery with tranquil surroundings, a place where your loved ones can come and visit you time and time again, remembering and celebrating your life. The gardens have caring professionals available to help you in your time of need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Pre-need with 0% financing is available and prevents your family from having to deal with these matters at the time of their grief and sorrow. The Gardens of Boca Raton, dedicated to all those who have lived and all those who live today.
By the way, those of you in YouTube, you can refresh if it buffers. That happens sometimes. I got it. It's working fine.
Call 877-PLAN-561 or online at
make sure you like.
thegardens.com. Tell them Steve Kane sent you.
These liberal trolls are always hitting the dislike, so guys, make sure you guys like the video. All right, welcome back. And when you go over to the gardens in Boca, and you walk over there, ask them to show you Steve Kane's crypt. It's there. It's got his name on it. And he's got a great spot. You can even take a selfie in front of it if you'd like. I got a picture of Steve, some good pictures actually of Steve in front of his crypt with his name on it. They'll show it to you. All right, let's go to the phones. You're on the radio. Good morning.
Yes, hi there. I just tuned in. This is Louise from Boca.
Yes.
I just wanted to tell you last night you might have mentioned it, but I just tuned in. I put you on at 11 o'clock, and it's supposed to keep going on and on. Well, by 12 o'clock, it disappeared, the station, completely.
The station disappeared at midnight?
Tune you in. You start at 11, right?
No, we start at midnight.
Fine. After 1 o'clock, it just disappeared.
Oh my goodness.
Hope it doesn't happen again. I tried till 2:30.
Well, I was listening on my way into work this morning, which was I turned on the radio in my car around 5, and it was fine. Mm-hmm.
Until 2:30.
But you know what though, when that happens and it's just static, it was just dead air. Well, I would say that dead air on this program is much more entertaining than what's on the other radio. And it was on early. You know, I woke up today at 3 a.m. and I was shocked. My wife was up, my daughter was up, my dog was up, my cats, they were all, everybody was awake, and I woke up at 3, and my wife was listening at 3, and everything was fine at 3.
But from 1 o'clock to 2:30, there was nothing.
Oh. But I appreciate you listening through the dead air.
Sometimes I can't catch it in the morning because I'm doing a walk.
Oh, shame on you. Shame on you.
I catch up at night.
Yeah, I know.
The hours, I should say.
No, our overnight listenership is very strong. When we do appearances, so many people listen at night, and we have a lot of people that listen at night. A lot of people, a lot of police officers. 35% of the workforce work overnight. People don't realize that. We have a lot of overnight workers, and oftentimes when I'm driving in, I'll pull up to a gas station, someone will pull up at another pump, and I'll hear myself on their radio. It's nice. It's nice. I like that.
Just hope it's not something that's going to keep happening.
I think it was just a tech issue. That's okay. It happens. There was no conspiracy. I mean, I could pump up a conspiracy, but I won't. I appreciate the call. Appreciate the call. Oh, man. I tell you. There is you guys can find this on YouTube. I've shared this with people before, but not for a long time. Go on YouTube and search for remember In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy? Go on YouTube and search In Search Of the Bermuda Triangle. In Search Of the Bermuda Triangle. Search for that on YouTube. The show is called In Search Of, for those that are too young to remember. In Search Of the Bermuda Triangle. And when I was a kid in the 70s, I was like fascinated with the Bermuda Triangle. It was hyped up. Bigfoot, Bermuda Triangle, all that stuff. And there's an episode of In Search Of on the Bermuda Triangle, which is just spectacular. And Fort Lauderdale, Florida, which is, where I grew up, and it's right here in Broward County. Fort Lauderdale, Florida is one of the points of the Bermuda Triangle. The points of the Bermuda Triangle: Fort Lauderdale, Bermuda, and San Juan, Puerto Rico. In fact, when you all go with us, those of us that went to San Juan with us on our couple of cruises ago, we went to the Spanish fort where you go in this guard tower that they say is the San Juan point of the triangle. Well, anyway. Planes and things used to disappear all the time in the Bermuda Triangle. It seems to have stopped in the last 30 years. I don't know why. But they go to a radio station in Fort Lauderdale, and they talk to this guy. I cannot remember his name. I'm going to go look this up and see if I can find his name. And he claims he had gotten a call on his late-night radio talk show from a government insider on what was going on in the Bermuda Triangle. It's hilarious, but what's most hilarious about it is it's from the radio. The guy worked at the radio station that I started out with Steve, 1400 WFTL, and this lunatic radio talk show host had some ridiculous caller with this conspiracy. You'll go watch it. In Search Of the Bermuda Triangle, and this was probably filmed in '78. And some of that equipment, I remember when I was working there in 91, 92, 93, some of the same equipment from the 70s that we had in the production room. So go check. In Search Of the Bermuda Triangle. Now, the thing with the station at night, our radio station is automated overnight. Overnight, it's automated. It's all computers. There's no one here in person until about 5:30 in the morning. And I don't know what time the last person leaves in the evening, but sometimes if there's a problem on the overnights, it's because there was something happened and there's nobody here to take care of it until somebody comes in a little later. That's why sometimes these things happen at night. All right, listen, we've got 2 hours to go. So much going on. So much to talk about. I got to tell you this, though. Friendly Tire in Margate. You know how expensive it can be to get run flats, right? Great deals on run flats at Friendly Tire in Margate. I see all kinds of cars over there. I see high-performance vehicles. I see sports cars. I see Jags. I see Vets. I see rust buckets. And everyone goes to Friendly Tire in Margate because the prices are so low. Not only do they have incredible prices on new tires, he has thousands of used tires in stock. Thousands of used tires in stock. And these are very good used tires, starting at just $30 for most sizes. So listen, give Friendly Mike in Margate a call. His number, 954-977-9445. He will give you a quote right over the phone. 954-977-9445. Online, friendlytire.net. And Friendly Tire is located at 5415 Northwest 15th Street in Margate. Northwest 15th Street, just north of Coconut Creek Parkway on the east side of 441. All right, 1 hour down, 2 to go. We'll be right back. This is the Steve Kane Show. Don't go anywhere.
0.3 FM, 96.9 FM, 103.9 FM, and AM 1470. WWNN Pompano Beach is the Florida Money Talk Network.
Do you
Have
think
you ever
you've
looked
come in
that up,
contact
Rich,
with
that you hear
someone
I was
who has
talking about?
coronavirus? Steve Kane's
It's
wife
our
Lori
old,
did, and she
audio
went to any
production
lab test
equipment.
now of Coral Springs to find out if she has coronavirus.
So I came into contact with somebody who tested positive for COVID, and I was scared, and I needed results right away, so I went to any lab test now in Coral Springs. It was great. I didn't have to stay in line.
I couldn't believe when I found it.
I was more concerned with her complaint about dead air.
I made an appointment.
But
They got me in within the
when
hour.
we have
I was
dead
out
air,
within 20 minutes.
and
Thank
it's more than
goodness,
20
the test was
seconds,
negative, and
I have an alarm system. It
Oh,
doesn't alert anybody
Unless they're here.
except for
it's
here.
probably one of the stations. Sometimes one station's down, the other ones are working.
It's worth 15
That
minutes
happens
of
a
your
lot.
time to have peace of mind.
But I was up at 3 and it was
At
my wife was
midnight, I can't even say, low
happens.
power issue.
North University Drive.
It's too late in the night.
Corner
Yeah.
of University and Ramblewood, near the Coral Square Mall.
But it
You
came
can call
back,
them
so.
at
That's right.
954-906-5983. 954-906-5983.
Could have been.
Any lab test now in Boca is in the Sandalfoot Plaza, where the Western Beef is, south of Palmetto Park Road and north of Hillsboro. Call them at 561-237-5009. 561-237-5009. Make sure you tell them you heard about them on the radio.
If you suffer with diabetes, there's a 25% chance that you'll
Well,
develop
there
a
was
foot
no
ulcer that can lead
talk
to
show in
severe
the middle
health
of the night.
consequences,
Oh, yes, there
including
was, wasn't there?
amputation. At
This
the
was
sole
long
authority
before we were on.
and
This was
little
like
or
in the
no
70s.
cause, you can receive your
It
very
was,
own
He could have been a guy.
That equal with those that are tended to lose themselves before a regular person without any problems. The guy's had brain surgery twice.
That's right.
So look at, I mean, come on, this guy is going